What's up guys, it's Richie Rich back yet again, and this time I'm giving my thoughts on Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, reaching a huge milestone, reaching his 50th birthday. Be sure to check this out.
I can't wait to be with you. I can't wait to be with you. Yeah, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to be with you. Loving you is all I wanna do.
So, someday your Fresh Prince will be in effect. That was like one of I'll go into a bit more, but one of the fantastic two-part episodes in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The original, the first season in the 1990s. Where Will Smith and the Halloween party, but I'll divulge more about that later on. But yeah, man, honestly, it's so strange to think about. Only I'd say probably say I'm so old now, so I've got to remember it now. Yeah, let's say 15 years ago. I remember finishing secondary school. Getting home, and couldn't wait to watch Will Smith on the TV because I was introduced to Will Smith, Mr. Blockbuster Boy, Independence Day, woo! Yeah, I was introduced to Will Smith from, obviously, I think which everyone was from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And how I was watching it was once I finished school, go straight to I was even working then trying to become a rich man, but I would go to the store to help my mom work because she was a hairdresser, and at the back there would be a double header of The Simpsons followed by Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They showed it from 6 o'clock. They had a time slot and they would show Simpsons, then Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So I remember just I didn't really care what happened in school, who I had to give my lunch money to, or which girl said not your baby. I didn't care. It was just getting home, watching that. No, actually, it was actually a triple header because Dragon Ball Z actually came on at 5 o'clock. 1 hour, I did a back-to-back on Toonami. Then we would switch channels to, I believe it was Sky 1 or one of the other channels, and it would show Simpsons and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air straight after. So yeah, man, I just remember, watching, Will Smith, during the 90s. When we talk about the big breakout stars, I've always said I'm such a big fan of the 90s era. I think that era of that funk, talent, just that way of expressionism has been lost now. That's why I'm trying to not revive that, but I'm trying to show people that this was an era where people didn't have the leniency or convenience of the stuff they have now, so they had to really struggle to get stuff. They had to really use their talent, and Will Smith was one of those stars. As I mentioned on my last review of the House Party 3, let me know if anyone's watched that. But Will Smith, just like Kid and Play, were the many rappers that broke out in that late 80s and 90s era. Obviously them, MC Hammer, Heavy D, Vanilla Ice, what was it, the Beastie Boys, Third Base, Naughty by Nature. There was so many. But what made Will Smith very different is he wasn't gangster rap. He was more just hip hop, having a good time. And the thing with Will Smith, is he just had an explosion of charisma. It was when you saw Will Smith, you just glued to the screen this is a star in the making. Even in the early days of the first episodes of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So yeah, how it was over here was because Fresh Prince was I don't think a TV sitcom has been overshown in this part of the world than the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I remember just coming home and just dropping into season after season and really not knowing what the first like episode was, you know. I always remember like the, you know, the intro, you know, that, man, that great nostalgia intro, you know. But I didn't know like the first episode actually takes place where the intro actually ends, you know, when Will Smith knocks on the door and, you know, he's wearing that, like he just bought a ticket to Six Flags outfit, you know, and he knocks on the door and he meets Jeffrey and that, you know. So yeah, it was just hard because like I think the season I always started watching was season 2, you know, when you know, Will's not as goofy because, you know, if you see Will Smith in the first season, he was very, very comical, you know what I mean, very, very like you know, using what was the words that, you know, that's fly, you know, all those like, you know, mannerisms that Will Smith, he was like to the extra, you know what I mean, it was just to the extra. But you can kind of see in season 2, he kind of toned it down and it's like he became more mature and that, you know. So yeah, man, like as I was saying, like that, you know, the catchphrase, like, you know, someday your Fresh Prince will be in effect, you know, that, which is like definitely one of my favorite episodes from the Fresh Prince TV series when they have the Halloween party, you know, and you know, Will Smith and Carlton went to the mall to try to find a date for the Halloween party at the Bel Air house, you know, which I always remember what was so cool is when they you know, when Will and Carlton were trying to get the girl and they played Will Smith's hit album, a hit single, Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble, which still applies today, people, in 2018, you know. Honestly, they can be trouble, you know. Will Smith knew that back in the 80s, you know. Richie Rich just found out now, you know what I mean? So like, so yeah, I mean, it was just like really nice because Will Smith was the first time you actually saw a rapper and like an actual actor combined in a TV hit sitcom, because even though Kid and Play blew up with House Party, Will Smith had more longevity because what was really cool is he was starring in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and he was also starring in feature films like Made in America, 6 Degrees of Separation, what was it, Independence Day, Bad Boys, you know, a ton of even other films, you know, I can't even recollect at the moment, but he was the main star of Fresh Prince. And because of that exposure, you know, he's seen him on Fox like every, you know, in the US of A all the time. He just became such a big like icon, you know what I mean. And like I said, Will Smith obviously is like, you know, the pivotal of like, you know, obviously the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but he was, you know, what was really good with the show was like, you know, he got carried by like a lot of, he didn't get carried, but like, you know, the supporting cast that were inside the show, you know, obviously like the fantastic and very, very talented Alfonso Ribeiro, you know, being in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know, Karen Parsons, Tatiana Ali, Uncle Phil, God rest his soul, you know, and the Aunt Viv, you know. I'm actually on the fence, you know, I actually prefer the first Aunt Viv than the second Aunt Viv because I think the first one actually had more impact in the show, whereas the second Aunt Viv was just there for like the quiet eye candy, you know. She never had anything interesting to say and that, you know, but I just felt that whole rounded cast, it just literally carried on what the Cosby Show was doing, of that friendly, nice black family, which white people could be like, oh, you know, I may not like black people, but Will Smith's okay, man. So, so yeah, you know, so that really like got Will Smith on like the people's thinking caps, you know, like this could be a new leading, you know, star, you know, which basically happened. Because I'm not really sure which film, you know, put Will Smith on the map, you know, the one that said, okay, he can now transition to a bona fide Hollywood movie star. Because, you know, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air ran for 6 seasons and what is it, it was from 1998 and finished at 1996. In between that time, I think it was the late 1995 to like 1998, he made Independence Day, Men in Black, of course, and Enemy of the State. You know, I'm trying to think which one of those actually made Will Smith like, okay, this is what, you know, Hollywood wants to F with him now, you know, because as I said in the past, before, like I said, Will Smith was the next one, you know, it was Denzel, you know, Denzel was the leading go-to black actor. To this day, I still can't believe the guy who literally was the man. Like, if they said, okay, we need like a black leading actor, it was Denzel. But it's like with Will Smith, he slowly crept on the radar from the late 90s and the early 2000s, and with them three movies I mentioned, he then crossed over to playing like great biopic films. Like, he played Ali, which is a terrific movie, and also another one which a lot of people really need to watch that film is Hitch. It's such an underrated comedic movie, which I really like because it showed how diverse Will Smith could be. He could play like the serious, I'm gonna like do everything I can, like in Ali, similar to like he was playing like one of the greatest like speakers, entertainers, champions ever, Muhammad Ali, legend, and he could turn it around and play like a dating doctor in Hitch, so he had that kind of like different levels, that people were attracted to, so he was just like, it's so weird seeing him now, like, 50, because man, he's a perfect example, like, of, black don't crack, what I mean, but I still just don't think, like, to this day, like, I mean, my favorite film, because, how I talked, if anyone's checked my other review of, like, Malcolm X, I talked about like how Denzel Washington obviously got snubbed for Malcolm X. I felt like one of the most like heartwarming films I've ever seen was the Pursuit of Happiness film that came out in 2006. And that film has always spoken volumes to me about like just never surrender, never quitting, believing in yourself. If you got a dream, you gotta go for it. When he was playing Chris Darden, and just touching scenes, man, of him like having to be with his son, and he was homeless, broke as a joke, and he still went for it, and it's like it was just a real. I think it's one of the things. I think Will Smith was the only guy who could play that role, because I bet you when he was in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he was told by probably tons of people that he could never be a blockbuster star, he could never be a leading man, because they saw him in the Fresh Prince as that kind of like goofy, adolescent guy, so he couldn't do that. So when he made that, when you see him play the shoes of Chris Darden, Chris Darden from O.J. Simpson, Chris Gardner, yes, in Pursuit of Happiness, it's like he's kind of he can feel that, of like a person who's been told no, 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 no is a four-letter word. You can't do this. You can't achieve anything. And then you prove them wrong. It's such a motivational film, and that's always been my favorite like Will Smith film. I mean, I do love the other ones like Bad Boys and that, but like if I've always looked for a film for like encouragement, because like I said, even in my whole life thing, when I've been down and I've been depressed, I watch films like that to motivate me, to say like, wow, things are, sometimes the things you think is bad is nothing compared to what a guy like he's gone through, his story and that, which is cool. Yeah, and like I said, and even to tie on that, like as I mentioned before, Will Smith, when he got into Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he was mad done for tax. What I mean? Like he made the the hits like, what was it, Parents Just Don't Understand, and obviously Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble. And he had the one with the the Mike Tyson, I Believe I Can Beat Mike Tyson. So he had them hits before he got into the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but I think because he wasn't sorting out his tax, he had to obviously do this TV sitcom. But it was a kind of overnight kind of success, because this was the first time America seen this like young, charismatic black person, which like no one was seen before. What I mean? Because like I said, the Cosby Show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was meant to be like the successor, obviously, to Cosby Show, but as good as like Bill Cosby is, Will Smith was just more of an electrifying. Will Smith for me, his charisma for me is only comparable to the one and only, the great one, The Rock. It's just that it's like electrifying. When Will Smith is in, it's like comes into the room, everyone wakes up. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy because like I always felt like Will Smith could do stand up because he's such a great comedian. You know what I mean? Like, and this is what I'm saying with Will Smith. I'll give you an example. Like I was even talking to one of my boys and that the one when D.L. Hewley pairs the guest stars in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I think they go to the comedy gig, and Will Smith's trying to draw this girl, and he basically sends Dio Hewley to go like chat her up and be like, you know, the bad cop, like the negative guy, you know, saying like, oh man, how you doing, baby, and all that. And like Will Smith comes out and he says, is this abrasive ninja bothering you? Then he's like, you know, I just want to apologize for behalf of my race, you know, it shouldn't happen. And he was like, can I call you sometime? Then like she gives it to him, and then like he looks at the camera. Please tell me none of you guys have not done that, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, bro, the whole thing, I learned how to basically chirps to girls because of Will Smith, you know, like when I practice like getting like, you know, trying to get girls' numbers and that, you know, it's because of Will Smith, you know. He's child lines and pickup lines. What was it? I think I saw it somewhere in the dictionary next to kablam. Yeah, he was the one who was very good at like them icebreakers and that. And what I love with Will Smith, it was just this kind of confidence, you know. He didn't really care. There's an episode as well when he's in the Playboy Mansion and he sees these 10 out of 10 honeys. He goes to all of them. They all shut him down. But it was just so amusing and funny because he comes off as very charming that even though he got shut down, it was never that thing of them girls would be like, well, we never would mess with Will Smith again because he wasn't so scared to fail. You know what I mean? If he saw an attractive girl, he just went up to them. You know, he wasn't too busy thinking about, oh God, Gilly, what if she says no? What if she doesn't know? I can't play basketball. She wasn't like that. He just went straight for what he went for, you know what I mean? And I think that's always spoken about Will Smith. He said he wanted to be a blockbuster guy. He did it, man, you know. Even with his, like, for instance, like, you know, moving on to, like, the next era of his films, like, you know, so, like I said, like, you know, he had them late 90s ones, like Men in Black, Independence Day, Enemy at Stays. I think it was in the noughties, you know, he had obviously Ali, Hitch, Pursuit of Happiness, and in between, he actually had these action blockbuster films, like I, Robot, you know, which, again, like, I don't know what other people think about it. I remember actually going to the theatre to see it, you know, and it was really cool seeing him there from when you saw him in Fresh Prince, because in Fresh Prince, he was like an ectomorph, very slim, very tall, lean guy. Then you see him in I Am Legend, not I Am Legend, that as well, I, Robot, and he's this kind of like, you know, muscle man, like, he looked like a superhero in screen. So you know what I mean, it's like when I remember seeing him like from there to there, and I'd be like, wow, he was able to get that muscle mass, you know, and that size. I was like, wow, this is like, you know, this is my hero, man, you know what I mean? Great inspiration, you know. And then when you see him in I Am Legend, you know what I mean, obviously After Earth, and you know, that was like, you know, he made a ton of films in the noughties. Then like his late edition, you know, I mean, the ones I went to see, it was obviously in a couple years, because now recently it's like superhero films have just been dominating the fairs and that, you know. So Will Smith was able to go inside that, you know. He was Deadshot in Suicide Squad, you know, and it's such a thing because Deadshot's actually one of my favorite villains from the DC universe, you know what I mean? I'm a big Batman fan, he's my #1 superhero of all time, but Deadshot's actually one of my favorite villains. So, you know, the idea that the Fresh Prince was playing Deadshot was such a dream come true, you know, and again, it was just another thing of like, when Will Smith's there, it's like he commands the screen, you know what I mean? Like, it's Deadshot, but it's like a Will Smith version, you know what I mean? And it was just so amazing, like him playing that role. He's meant to be the villain, but he still comes off as like the unsung hero, like, you know, the idea that like, you know, he's doing this just so he can see his daughter and that. And man, how pumped up he is in that film, you know, because, you know, I think that one came out just before Focus, because I remember seeing Focus and Suicide Squad together, you know, and it's like, you know, it's just so sick, like how in Focus he can play like the charming romantic guy, and Deadshot he can play like the you know, man on a mission kind of, you know, lead, and you know, basically leading man character. So yeah, man, it's just so terrific, man. Like off this, like, you know, him reaching his 50th stone milestone. He's you know, he's like body of work, you know, for the last like let's say what, since I saw him 1990 and we're now 2018, so that's about coming up to nearly 20, 30 years of work, you know, starting in early 20s to now 50, you know. That's just, it's just a great body of work, man. And he's a guy, again, he's a perfect example of Will Smith has talent in abundance, but the guy works his ass off, man. You know, I've always seen his interviews on like Inside the Actor Studio and Charlie Rose, and he's talked about like, you know, stuff like the, you know, mountains he's had to climb, you know, like changing people's opinions of him, you know, because like a lot of people have always seen Will Smith as goofy, but he's always been a guy to challenge people's opinions, and a very, very smart guy, you know what I mean? And one thing I've always rated him and loved him is like, Will Smith is he's a guy, again, you know, he could literally get, you know, any woman he wants, you know, but he found like, you know, one of my favorite actresses, Jada Pinkett Smith, you know, and they've been together in harmony, man. He's like, he doesn't focus on this numbers game, which I keep saying, you know, because I look at people, I look at male celebrities who they've been destroyed by chasing these felines, you know. My man Bill Cosby, stuff he did back in the day affected him now. Look what happened to Charlie Sheen. Winning, it broke him down. You know what I mean? And the thing is, they get so broken down, they can't get back. You know. I've always said Will Smith had that same discipline like Denzel. He found the woman he's loved. He has his kids. You know, even he obviously did have his relationship back in the day. You know, which like, you know, obviously didn't move off. But Will Smith was always someone like who's, you know, he's focused. You never ever hear bad what is it, news on Will Smith, like they've caught him cheating, they've caught him being with another woman, you know, just like Denzel. You know, he's more focused on the bigger picture. You know, if I've already got my woman and I've got my family, what the heck do I need to chase all these women, you know what I mean, who want me? Because like I said, some of these lot you want to chase them, they're not even thinking, especially like a statue of Will Smith, a lot of it's just agenda. You know, so I think Will Smith's always been smart enough to know that, you know, if I've got my baby at home, why do I need 20 million a woman? It's you know, but again, that's my opinion, you know, that's where I think I differ to probably like, I'm probably always like the 10% of that to the 90% of guys and that, but yeah, man, I was just really great, you know, like I remember, because they were announcing his 50th, you know, birthday, you know, and he did the bungee jumping, you know, thing off. I don't know, was that Wild Canyon? You know, someone let me know. But that was so cool, man, because I've always wanted to do kind of like, what was it, the springboard jump like out of an airplane or bungee jumping. You know, I've always wanted to try that. So, like, you know, kind of seeing him do that, you know, makes me want to try do it. I mean, if the Fresh Prince can do it, there's no reason the richest man in earth can't do it. I mean, come on, you let me know, please. But like, yeah. I just like, you know, he's a guy who has been there for like half a century, and it looks like every day he's enjoying life, you know what I mean? Yeah, man, he's enjoying life, and like he's the perfect, you know, caricature of someone who's like living life to the fullest, you know what I mean? He's enjoying his life, you know, he's been enjoying it for like, you know, now he's 50, you know, he's been enjoying it for like the last 30 years, you know, of just, you know, what's the nice thing with Will Smith is, even though he's got all this success, and you know, he's on top of the world, Men in Black, Independence Day, woo! He always remains so humble in his interviews, you know, he never let it go to his head, Kanye West, but like he never let it go to his head like some Yeezy or someone, you know, but he's always stayed cool, very down to earth, you know. He just really sounds like, yeah, just a likable dude, you know. So yeah, just like, big up Will Smith, man. So yeah, man, thanks again just for watching this vid, you know. This is just like my thoughts on like Will Smith, man. He's always been like one of, you know, my heroes, you know what I mean. I've always like, you know, a big fan, you know, since the day, you know, and I'm just so glad, you know, like the success he's gotten over these years, you know. He made it, you know, like we all want to do, you know what I mean? So big up, you know what I mean? So glad like he, you know, did it. He just didn't do it for, you know, him, you know, he did it for like other, you know, like the next generation, you know, because like, you know, we want to see the next Will Smith, you know what I mean? Honestly, but yeah, man, honestly, let me know if anyone has like any kind of like great moments from the Fresh Prince, you know, just Will Smith in general. you know, drop in my comment sections. We can have a discussion. But until that magic day arrives, ladies and gents, peace to things.